In our gospel today, Jesus is in conversation with the Pharisees over a couple of things, and primarily it is over where he comes from, his origins. Where is he from? In earlier conversations with them, they were, talking about, like, who's your father? Where are you from? The Messiah is supposed to come from Bethlehem, but you're from Galilee. And anyway, the conversation goes on, and Jesus says, if you remain in my word, you will truly be my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So Jesus is making this beautiful, beautiful proclamation of this calling to himself, to come to him, to enter into his love, to remain in his love, and then to become free. And later on, we see that freedom involves being able to call God Father, of not just being slaves or servants, but truly becoming free children of the Father. And so the Pharisees get a little taken by this, and they say a strange line. They say, we are descendants of Abraham and have never been enslaved to anyone. Well, that's not true. Certainly they were servants or descendants of Abraham. That's true. But to say they were never enslaved to anyone is not true. Have they forgotten all of those years that they were slaves in Egypt and had to be delivered through the waters of the Red Sea by Moses? Perhaps they've forgotten the fact that the northern tribes were taken into captivity into Assyria. And perhaps they forgot that only about 350 years prior to this conversation with Jesus, that they were in exile in Babylon. So it's not true that they were not slaves previously to anyone. They were in fact slaves to Egyptians, to Assyrians, to Babylonians, and presently under Roman rule. So it wasn't exactly living in the freedom that they had during the days of King David, King Solomon, and a few of them after that. And so there's this, misunderstanding that they're getting, that they're thinking about physical slavery of their own present day, perhaps, but don't realize that the Lord is speaking about the slavery to sin. The slavery to sin. And so Jesus says, amen, amen, I say to you, everyone who commits sin is a slave to sin. So the truth is, because our first parents committed that original sin, they sold us into the slavery of sin, we could say. Right? We're told that by various authors, including the scriptures, that we were sold into the slavery of sin. And so our Lord Jesus Christ comes to deliver us, to redeem us, to bring us out of that slavery of sin. And through the waters of baptism, not only are we brought out of the slavery of sin, we're brought into the freedom of the children of God. In the beauty of the waters of the baptism, we are brought into the very family of God. We are adopted by the Father and become true and real children of the Father. And if we have experienced this beautiful gift of grace, then we have the obligation really to maintain that beautiful state of grace that has been given to us, that allows us to call God Abba, Father. And so that remaining in the love of the Lord, remaining in that state of grace, remaining in that relationship with the Lord, maintaining the beauty of that relationship through the gift of Holy Communion, through living a virtuous life, through living a holy life. This is the freedom that the Lord is speaking about, the freedom to be who we were created to be. When I say that, I mean that we were created in the image and likeness of the most blessed Trinity. We're created to be like God. And through the gift of baptism, through the gift of the sacraments, through the gift of the spiritual life, we are able to live to that full potential of being like God, of living in the fullness, being like our Father in heaven. And the Pharisees are struggling with this. Jesus speaks about this beauty of a slave does not remain in the household forever, but a son always remains. This reality that we're not just slaves of God. We are more than that. We have become children of God. The Pharisees struggle with that reality. Like, how could I actually be a child of God after this? So there's a struggle there. I think for us, it's good for us to think about that beautiful gift of our baptism.